On this episode of Monday Mindset, me and Brandon, we're telling all our worst decisions that we have ever made. You're going to get to hear them right here. We're going to help you figure out how you can make better decisions for your life. Let's dive into it. Welcome to another episode of the Monday Mindset. The Monday Mindset we exist is a conversation that offers reflection, encouragement, and next steps to kickstart your week. My name is Aaron, and as always, this is my great buddy, Brandon. Brandon, man, you ready to rock?
I'm ready. Well, I don't know, actually. I mean, you're talking about telling all. I'm not too sure if I'm ready to rock, but we'll roll on with it.
Whenever I said Brandon and Aaron tell all, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
I was like, okay.
What came to my mind was The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. You know, they have like at the end of the season, the great Bachelor and Bachelorette tell all. Not that I watch the shows. Just kidding. That may be the biggest mistake I've ever made. Spent 2 years of my life watching 2 seasons of The Bachelor.
They suck you in.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, the wife wants me to watch it. Yeah. I'll be sweet and watch it for her. Next thing you know, you got the popcorn.
Yeah, I wish that that's how mine started. That's not quite it.
It started with you.
It's actually started with 2 other guys that I worked with at the high school, and they were talking about, listen, it all starts, like every time you start a Bachelor or Bachelorette conversation, it starts by, now listen, don't judge me or anything, but it's kind of good. Have you ever watched The Bachelor?
Hey.
That's how it started.
It is true, but that's pretty funny. We are telling all. That's pretty funny. That's good.
Yeah, and I think I ended up sucking Emily into it. Is how that is so rare. Anyways, so Brandon, talking about making bad decisions, we're going to talk about how we can make better decisions.
Yeah. This
episode on the podcast. But before we do, let's get real and honest. We have definitely probably made some poor decisions.
Yeah.
In our life. And what's one of the worst decisions you've ever made?
So I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I'm going to use a little bit more of a broad spectrum here because, man, I've made a lot of bad decisions. It's like if you were like, okay, Brandon, what's a really good decision you made? It's like, oh, okay, I have a few I can choose from here. But bad decisions, it's like, okay, let's see which one I'm going to pull up. But I would say just like as a broad spectrum, I would say most of my worst decisions or bad decisions came in relationships.
Oh,
and yeah, so like I would say like in dating relationships, whether it was just so shallow that I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. And was just so careless about the other person, but also careless about me, and led to a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of awful decisions. But also even within my friendships of the people I surrounded myself with. Yeah. I mean, bad company corrupts good character, and I'm telling you, it's one of those things where I made a lot of bad decisions in my life, experienced a lot of heartache in my life that I wouldn't have had to gone through had I not chose those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I definitely can agree there. Definitely been some stupid decisions along that route, but I'm going to lead into one I think probably a lot of people can relate to. It was one of the worst financial decisions that I've ever made. And I think still to this day, I made that decision 5 years ago, and I'm still to a point, I'm kind of still paying for it. So I get out of college, I'm driving. This is like, how many people's stories have started like this? I'm driving a used Ford Fusion that had a rebuilt title. It almost killed me about twice. It had this weird thing to where I would just be driving, and then all of a sudden it would just jerk hard right. Almost ran me into a ditch like 3 or 4 times. Finally.
Are you sure you didn't just fall asleep?
I promise. Then I'm leaving work in it, and raining like crazy, and I'm all over the road. Turns out I just need new tires. But anyways, I used that day and the multiple other incidents before and said, you know what? I'm done with it. I got a new job at that point. Felt like I was a millionaire.
Oh yeah.
Felt like I was
Yeah.
a school teacher, man.
That's right.
Felt like I was a millionaire. Became a coach, a high school girls basketball coach. So that was a little bit of a pay bump for that. I thought, you know what? I'm going to go and treat myself. And I'm going to use that money from the coaching stipend to buy me something nice. And boy, did I. Boy, did I. So I don't know if anybody out there has ever been looking for a used truck.
Oh gosh.
I had my heart set on a used truck on a used truck. I was going to get used.
It was me last year.
And so what you find if you're in the used truck market is that used trucks are only a few $1,000s cheaper than new trucks. If you want low mileage, and man, I was a sucker for it. I was a sucker. Dave Ramsey told me, he said, Aaron, don't do it. In every podcast and every book I read, don't do it, Aaron. You don't need to buy a new truck. But you know what this boy went and did? I bought me a brand new crew cab F-150. Oh, it was nice. It was nice. Emily has a picture on her Instagram that still lets me relive that day. Me sitting in the driver's seat of that bad boy. I got the runners on it. I made some upgrades.
Oh, I bet you were smiling ear to ear.
Oh, it was good. I mean, I'm a big old guy too. Oh man. And then you start making the payments and you're like, what am I doing? Like, I mean, high payments. I was like, why am I doing this? And me and Emily, we were in a good financial point, had a low mortgage payment at the time. And really what you found is that I was putting so much money into this truck and it was making me sick. I was like, there's no reason for me to have this truck in my life. So I just immediately, I think a year later, I only had it for a year. I went to a car dealership and I said, I want to trade. And I ended up trading down. The only thing that saved me there, I didn't have to pay taxes. Fun fact, whenever you go from a more expensive car to a less expensive car, you don't have to pay taxes. That was the only thing that won out of that situation. And I finally just paid that car off that we ended up trading for. Stupid decision. And you know what I didn't do? This is what's crazy, and this will kind of dive into it. You know what's funny about making bad decisions? Is that I knew it probably wouldn't have been a smart decision to buy that truck. And you know how I know now? Because I didn't ask anybody to help me with it.
Oh, yeah.
That is like, if you know you're heading down a bad path, or you know you're heading down a bad path, you know you're about to make a bad decision, when you don't ask the people in your life, hey, what do you think about this decision? Because you already know what it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
You already know like there's two people, my dad and Emily's dad, two people I go to for everything. And my dad said, he said, son, what are you doing? Why are you buying that new truck? And I didn't even ask Emily's dad at all. And he would have told me, said, probably some better options out there. You may want to just kind of look around, or hey, let me help you look around. Didn't. Would have changed so much for me and Emily in my life. I do it all.
You're
buddy.
ready to go.
That's it.
Hey, they don't understand. I'm a girls basketball coach now. I got this.
Oh gosh. So yeah, man, it's just crazy. So, man, that still is living with me. It's living with me. Man.
Oh yeah, man. How funny is it though that happens so often, like in our life, that it's like, man, I know this is wrong. However, man, it just makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
How could it be wrong and feel so right? How could it be wrong and just feel so right? So you know what? I got this.
Yes.
They don't understand it, man. It's so funny.
And then you're even thinking about like relationships. Every bad relationship.
Oh yeah.
You're the only person that doesn't know.
Oh.
Everybody else around you knows that you're in a bad relationship.
Yeah,
and they'll probably even speak into that.
Yeah, and you shut them off. And
Yes.
I mean, I've done it personally. You'll even end a good relationship from someone trying to speak truth to you
Yes.
for a bad one because of your pride.
Yes.
You don't want
Yes.
No, you don't understand.
Yes.
You don't get it. That happens so often.
You're right. We get in the way, man, I think, of making good decisions and bad decisions. Another thing I think that is there is that we kind of talked a little bit before this. You know, we talk about like relationships. Lord help us all if we go back to our middle school and high school relationships and all the stupid stuff we probably did there. But we would ask the question, God, what's a sin? Like, what's the sin? And we like to have absolutes like right and wrong.
Yeah.
And we want to know, like we were just talking, like, hey, is it okay to like French kiss my girlfriend? You know what I mean? Or throw, hey, is it okay Or is it a sin, God, if I buy this new truck? Or like if I spend this money here? Or is it a sin? You know, you kind of fill in the blank.
Yeah.
We like an absolute truth. But really, you know what it doesn't say in the Bible? It doesn't tell you how to kiss your wife at all. But we could probably start thinking like, is this the best thing for our relationship? Could this lead to something more that could definitely be a sin?
Yeah.
But no, in the moment, it's like, feels good, feels right. Why not? You know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Crazy.
It's just one of those things, man. Oh man, you got me thinking about all bad decisions. I'm like, what was I thinking? How dumb was I? But it's so true though. And just talking about that, I think that it's funny with hitting on how a lot of times we want to handle it. We want, I got it.
Yeah,
I got it. I got this figured out. And it reminded me of this verse here. Here in Proverbs, it says, Proverbs 11:2. It says, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so often it's like, oh man, like we're gonna have to humble ourselves and say,
Right.
you know what? Maybe I'm not seeing this.
Yeah.
Man, maybe you're seeing something from a different perspective. Because like I talked about, a lot of our relationships, I know you talked about high school, middle school. Let's be real. Some of the people watching this, you're kind of in a relationship stage of your life right now too. Maybe not making the best decisions in that, but so often they're just so shallow.
Yeah.
And you're not seeing it any certain way. And someone's saying, hey, listen, I've been there before. Hey, listen, I see what you're going through. Hey, listen, you don't need to do this.
Right.
And man, sometimes it's smart to take a step back, but instead, so often we go in deeper.
Yeah,
like
we do.
We go further away and we cut those people off. But it takes that humility really to bring that wisdom in our life.
Yeah, and man, the what's so funny, you know, you talk about humility and you talk about like the truck and all that, is that it's weird. Like I wouldn't even ask my parents or, you know, those people closest to my life. But here's the funny thing. As soon as I bought the truck, you know what everybody knew? That I just went in debt to buy this truck. You know what I mean? It's like what we want to keep hidden and what we want to keep away from people ends up coming into the light anyways.
Yeah.
You start talking about like relationships and you start dating this one girl that you know your parents aren't going to like. And you try to keep it a secret that you've been talking to her, but then eventually all that comes out to the light. You know, everybody then gets to see you and your decisions that you made. But let's put them in the past. We all have regrets. We all have bad decisions that we've made. We can't change them even though we want to. We're stuck with them. We can learn from them. We can grow from them. But what we want to do, we want to help you make better decisions this week for your life. And we really want to do this in a couple ways. And what I'm going to help, in order for us to make better decisions about questions that come our way, we're going to answer that with a question. But before I give the question, let's talk about 3 things that influence our decisions. Number 1 is our past. Our past is one of our greatest teachers. Like we learn, hopefully. So I'm still learning, I think. Some things in my past I still think very prideful of. Our current circumstances, that's definitely one of the things we filter our decisions through. And our future hopes and aspirations. Those definitely, all 3 influence our decisions. Now, what do you think, man? Which one really resonates with you, with your decision making?
I would say that for me, now, it would be the future hopes and aspirations.
Yeah.
Previously, it was the past, and I'd like to dive into that just a little bit deeper here in a bit. But for now, I would say future hopes and aspirations, and just kind of looking forward. And it's one of those things that, like, hear me out here. If you've listened to this whatsoever, we're so far from perfect. We're still figuring this out. Like we're still walking through it. So it's not like one of those things where it's like, oh, so what does help? Like what helps influence your decisions? And I give some perfect answer, and it's like, oh, that's great. But it's something I'm practicing. It's something I'm walking through daily. And one of the things that I am walking through is I go, well, does that bring honor and glory to God?
Yeah.
Will that in the future bring honor and glory to God?
Yeah.
And if it does, then I'm okay with that decision. I mean, because let's be real, not every decision is necessarily a bad one. Like
Right.
you
No.
have choices every single day, and if you said yes to all the good things, man, you're still maybe not making the wisest choice.
Right.
Because I mean, for me, I had to even go through the filter of good, great, and God, and really go, man, will this bring honor to God? Will this bring glory to God in the future? And really have that different perspective for my future while still living in the present, though.
Yeah.
Because don't ever miss the season that God has you in.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
however, in this season, how can I be planting my roots deeper to bring out that fruit to give glory to God?
Right.
So I would say that really looking forward to the future has really been my perspective change within that.
Yeah, I got you, man. I completely agree with that. I think I struggle though. I see the future, I see the hopes and the aspirations, but I think a lot of mine, good and bad decisions, are based on current circumstances. And I think current circumstances drive you. You have to make decisions.
Yeah.
You have to. I had a decision I had to make this week, and I finally had somebody kind of asked somebody to pour into this decision. And what they kind of did, they took me from a 10,000 feet elevation view and said, okay, let's look at this in a big picture. Let's look at this not so much in the next 2 weeks, but how's this impact in the hopes in the future. But sometimes I get so caught up in, okay, no, I just need to make the decision, and all I can think about is how this impacts now.
Yeah.
And I think we just get caught into that. A lot of times our feelings, our wants, our desires drive the here and the now. And we oftentimes just lose sight of how that impacts our future, our hopes, and our aspirations. So let's talk about the question. Here's the question, man. In light of our past decisions, in light of all that we've learned in our past, in light of our current circumstances, and in light of our future hopes and aspirations, what is the wise thing for me to do? What is the wise thing for me to do? Not what's the right thing.
Yeah, wise.
Not what's the wrong thing. What's the wise thing for me to do? There's a big difference, but it's with all three of those contexts in mind. So if it's like me, if I'm just worried about the present, then I may miss the future implications. Or if we don't look and reflect on our past, then we aren't able to learn from those to make the better decisions. We'll read the verse and then we'll dive into what we think this means to us. So Ephesians 5:15 through 17 says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is." And we're really focusing on that. How do you live? Not as wise, not as unwise, but as wise. So what's the difference, Brandon, between wise decisions and decisions why is it important that that filter is in place?
I think it's super important to understand what's wise and not wise. Wisdom's something that I never really thought too much about, but man, it's something that God really talks about so much. But I think that wisdom's one of those things that whenever I look at it with how we live, it does show that humility, so on and so forth. It helps build us in our humility with Christ, becoming like Christ, and not focusing so much on doing it on our own and having to push forward on our own. But the wise decisions, I think that we so often don't realize how our decisions affect other people as well.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to look at our life and see how it can affect me in the here and now, or maybe in our current circumstances. Man, I feel this way. I'm gonna do this. I need it done today, just so I can check off that box.
Right.
And so often we just look at our here and now within our life and not for those around us.
Right.
And that was something that, like I said, that I'm doing with looking toward like the future and the aspirations and seeing, man, will this truly bring God honor and glory?
Yeah.
And so I think that that's one of those things that you have to die to yourself, where it said that for the Lord's will.
Yeah.
And really kind of diving into that and just, you know what? My decisions matter beyond me.
Yeah, absolutely.
and
absolutely.
And realizing that.
Absolutely. I think we can kind of put put some definitely feet to this as well, and we can talk about some of the decisions that we have coming up. But I think really coming back to that, what's the wise thing to do? We like to have the absolutes, right, wrong, and really most decisions are just so foggy.
Yeah.
And once we start adding that, okay, let's look at, okay, what decisions have I made in my past? Okay, that didn't work out really well. Okay, that did work out pretty good. All right, let's look at our current circumstances. What is paramount right now? What's impacting us right now? But really, how does this decision maybe impact our future?
Yeah.
And really, once we put all three of those things together, I think that we can look at it with a broader spectrum. And just about choked and died there. Did you hear that?
You're all right.
I don't know what's going on. I'm learning how to talk again. But whenever we start looking at this from not just so right here, right now, but from past, present, and future, we get a broad spectrum of analysis of that decision. Man, I think that we can really be a wise person in that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's so important to have all three, because if you have too much of one of them, man, it still leads to unwise decisions.
Yeah.
If you're looking too far ahead, you're not going to realize the person who's hurting next to you. Right. You're not going to realize what's going on next to you in the here and now that can really be life-changing. They can really bring fruit. You can miss the here and now if you're looking too far ahead. But if you're focused on the here and now so much, you're not making the best decisions for the future. And then also one of the biggest things, and this is what I was talking about with the past, is so often, and I'm sure you probably heard the illustration of the rearview mirror, and talking about that, of like, if you're constantly looking in the rearview mirror as you are driving ahead, man, you're going to end up in some crashes. If you're going to continually live in your past and just let your past direct you and let it define you, then, man, there's going to be some more crashes, more bad decisions heading your way. But instead, it's there to help guide you. It's there to keep you safe from making a bad decision. Man, maybe there's a car coming up behind you that you didn't see that, man, if I'm just looking forward, I'm just going to get over. And that leads to crashes as well. Absolutely. So I think it's that healthy balance between the three of, man, I'm not going to let my past define me, but refine me. I'm not going to let my present distract me from what God has for me and those around me. And I'm also not going to allow my future from keeping me from the here and now.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's why it's so important to have those three things to help in your everyday life decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. So I'm gonna put you on the spot one last time, and then we'll wrap this one up. So let's really put some feet to what we're talking about. So we probably are both experiencing some decisions right now in our life, and so let's add a little bit of context to this. So I'll start first and give you some time. It doesn't have to be along the same lines, but let's just kind of relate a little bit. So we all got stimulus checks, right?
Yeah.
That's wild, isn't it? Getting to somebody's like, money just showed up in my bank account. It's incredible.
I thought you were about to say you got another one. I was like,
I think they're coming. I do think they're coming. But we were looking at, okay, me and Emily had a conversation. What do we do with it?
Yeah.
What do we do with the money? And right now, it's still sitting. We didn't. So I did make a couple of decisions. I thought, all right, there's lots of things I want. Come on now. There's lots of things I want to have, lots of things I want to buy. I'm still on the hunt for some Jordan 11 size 14s. Anybody out there looking or listening and watching, want to hook this boy up with some Jordan 11s, low tops, please. Any color, it don't matter. Yeah. But anyways, I could splurge, spend about $250, $300 on some Jordan 11s. That'd be incredible. I would wear them every day. Every day. I would. Anyways, I'm getting off topic. But I could. So I could pop off and I say, hey, let's just, whatever you want, Emily. You take 600, I'll take 600. Let's just have a party. Probably wouldn't be the wisest thing. Is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. It's not wrong at all. But we started looking through it. So what we decided to do with that money is we just put it in savings. Mm-hmm. And so right now it's just sitting. And right now we're trying to make the decision, do we start using that money to pay off some more funds, or do we want to use that money to maybe build up a little bit more of a nest egg? And so right now, but we're combating what we really want. What we really want is just to spend it. And so what we're trying to find is, okay, in the past, I spent money too quickly. Mm-hmm. Without thinking through it. Yeah. All right, now the current situations I'm looking at, okay, we got some debt that we could pay off. But I'm honestly thinking as well about the future and I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's going to be some unsettling times from this. Maybe there's going to be some things where we may need some funds. So I think right now, maybe the wisest decision, we could pay off debt or we could save it. And we're really wrestling through that. And so this has been a great filter for us to continue to have that conversation. What is the wise thing for us to do with that stimulus money?
Yeah, I think that it's so good, too, that you realize that, man, wise choices take time.
Oh, yeah.
Like
it's a good one.
And
yeah.
so often, like, it's okay to chew on something. It's okay to, like, be slow with it. Like, don't just think, oh, I got to do it here and now. Now, there may be situations where you have to make a quick decision,
right, absolutely.
and you have to lean on, okay, well, what's the wise decision here? You know what's, like, and I know, like, it's a very basic, very Christian answer, but it's one of those things I literally had to get back to complete basics and just go, man, what would Jesus do in this moment? What would he do? And I mean, I know you probably had those bracelets. I had those bracelets, WWJD.
Yeah.
And I had to legit get back to it. And because it became a bracelet instead of a lifestyle for me. And I had to go, man, you know what?
Yeah.
I need to get back to that with making my decisions. But I understand completely. And because, man, the stimulus check in my hands is not the wisest thing.
Dangerous.
So that's but yeah, that was something that me and Abby we talked about and was like, okay, what are we gonna do here?
Yeah.
And she didn't even have to come up with ideas. I had 50,000.
Yeah.
I was, oh, what about this? What about
she
future
just
cruise?
said
What about
Disney cruise, right? That's all she said.
I said that, and I mean, she was on board, and we got lucky. That's not what we did. Like, we didn't plan another. I'm telling you, but no, it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, well, and we kind of sat down and talked through it as well. Like, okay, what could we really pay off with this? What could it really help? But it was one of those things too that while we were okay in that season, little did we know with the pandemic and stuff that she actually her job would close down for a bit.
Yeah.
So because of that decision that we made, it was like, okay, because of that, now this. And it was just one of those things where whenever you see those wise decisions pay off as well,
absolutely,
man, it's something special about it.
It's encouraging.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we know that you all are all facing decisions in your life, and you're going to face plenty of decisions this week. But we just want to encourage you to make better decisions and to really use that what we talked about today as the filter. So, in light of our past decisions, our current circumstances, and our future hopes and aspirations, what is the wise thing for me to do? Guys, it's been a lot of fun. Brandon's been a lot of fun this one. Good to connect and get to just be real and honest with you all. But we hope that through this week and in your life to come that you can use this as a filter to make better decisions for your life.